What's going on, guys? Welcome to today's new episode. We're reacting to UFC Fight Night Mexico, Erceg versus Moreno, and we did pretty good with the picks this week. We went 10 for 12. It was very favorite heavy on this card. A lot of Mexican fighters were the favorites in Mexico, so that did play a huge role. But in today's episode, we're going to break down each individual fight, give our thoughts and reactions to each fight. So let's go on the UFC website and break it down. So first fight up, we had Marquel versus Austin. Marquel Medeiros versus Austin Hubbard. This one went to decision. Based on the scorecards here, seemed like they gave Medeiros the first round. Hubbard the second round. Gave it's kind of the deciding one was the third round. Now it was very interesting just because the third round was kind of up in the air, but Medeiros ended up landing, I believe it was an elbow to the top of the head. So Austin was leaking like crazy. It looked a lot worse than it actually was. I think that did play a role in kind of what the judges saw, but it was a tough fight. It wasn't like a dominant performance by Medeiros, but he did do his thing. So he won by decision, was the favorite entering this fight. I believe he has 5 fights in a row, now 6. I believe he's like 28 years old. Austin Hubbard is around 33, I believe. Yep, 33 years old. And then we went to this featherweight bout with Jamal Emmers and Gabriel Miranda. Now, Jamal Emmers is a heavy favorite, has knockout power. He was locked in going into this fight. He was very stoic with his hands getting wrapped when he was walking in. Gabriel Miranda with a smile, who was smiling walking into the cage. So we got a different type of emotions. And the fight started off rapidly, bro. Gabriel Miranda was on the feet, went for a double leg. He had a kick that was kind of low. We'll see if we could play any clips. He ended up getting a takedown really early in the fight, securing a takedown and going right to his back. Now, Gabriel made a mistake. He only got one solid hook in when he took the back, and he was slipping off. So he ended up getting this like Darce slash choke going on, this little choke, but he ended up slipping, and he ended up losing the position. Now, Gabriel has 15 submissions in the UFC, 16 submissions in the UFC, 15 in the first round. So it looked right away like Gabriel was going to get the finish. He ended up slipping off his back, then ended up standing up, and it was all Jamal Emmers from there, bro. He had like one good shot, and Miranda was on skates, bro, for like 2 minutes. Miranda was on the verge of falling. He couldn't gather his feet. I'm sure he had no clue where he was, and then Emmers ended up knocking out Miranda in the very first round. So very dominant win by Emmers, kind of really set the tone for the rest of the card. Good win. That was one of the picks that we got wrong on that one. Heavy favorite. It was going to be tough, but the submission was there. It was there, but it kind of slipped through his hands. So next fight up, Rafa Garcia versus Vince Pichel. Now this was a good fight on the feet. This went to decision. We're kind of expecting to, have him stand and bang for a little bit. Rafa is a boxer. He does grapple a lot. Cub Swanson was in his corner. Vince Pichel has that knockout power as well. And these two went at it, especially in the third round. If we check out the scorecards here, let's check it out for Pichel and Garcia. First round it went to Garcia. Second round was leaning towards Pichel for one of the judges. And seemed like it was a dominant win. I thought it was a lot closer than what the scorecard had, but we're not judges out here. But Rafa Garcia secures the dominant victory in the land of Mexico. So good win for Rafa. Next matchup, Lupi Godinez versus Julia Polistri. This was a good fight, dude. Lupi came out swinging. Polistri hung in there. She didn't seem very phased at all during the fight, even towards like the end of the third round. It seemed like every freaking shot that was landed, she was there. She was freaking standing still. But a very dominant win by Lupi Godinez. Had some good takedowns. A lot more stand-up than I expected, but it ended up going to decision. It was kind of a weird moment in there where Lupi's like, I got to use the restroom mid-fight. I thought it was pretty funny, but she ends up securing the win. She's ranked the number 11th in the strawweight division, so that's definitely going to increase her stock and have her go up in the rankings. Next fight up, Christian Rodriguez versus Melquizael Costa. Now, I didn't know if Christian Rodriguez was born in the U.S. or born in Mexico. I believe when we did the reaction or did our picks for the video, he had a U.S. flag on here. I'm not going to lie. We ended up picking Melquizael Costa just because he had such a dominant performance last month against Andre Fili. I believe he didn't take any damage in that last fight, so he was ready to go. He doesn't have a lot of hype under him, but he did seem like a solid fighter. And and this fight, I felt like he proved it. This fight was pretty back and forth, a lot of grappling, a lot of exchanges, and this was an entertaining one. Even though it went the distance, this was our first underdog pick that went our way. And then going up the card, the last fight of the prelim, I think things shifted up a little bit just because Kelvin Gastelum and Joe Pyfer, something fell through. I think Pyfer ate some Mexican food or something. He couldn't handle some of the salsa or something, but he ended up not making it to the fight. The fight that we had right before the main event was Jose Medina versus Atebe Gutierrez, which won performance of the night. Now, this one was pretty rough to watch, just because Jose Medina, he had this like little thing, like if he got hit, he would just smile and tell him to come on. Now, this did not, how can I say this? That style did not work out in his favor, to say the least. After he got hit with a few shots, he was hurt and he was still telling him to come on, and he ended up getting knocked out in the first round. Now, Ateba Gutierrez, up and coming prospect, 22 years old, first fight in the UFC, so he made his UFC debut. Yeah, he's on a 6-fight win streak. The silent assassin in his name, coming out of Cameroon. Excited to see what they have for him at middleweight. Lots of up and coming talent for the UFC right now. So now getting to the main event. Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Kevin Borjas. A lot of hype going into this fight. Ronaldo Rodriguez mentioned on his Instagram, right when the Gastelum fight got canceled, he went on Instagram saying he wants this fight to go up the card. He mentioned that in the pre-fight conference as well. He wants to be a co-main event, but he was the first fight of the main event against Kevin Borjas. He walked out with Julio Cesar Chavez. There was a lot of hype for Ronaldo Rodriguez. I believe he just hit 2 million subscribers on his Instagram, which is more than Brandon Moreno, the one headlining the fight. So you could imagine that the amount of anticipation there was for this fight. This is Ronaldo's third fight in the UFC. Kevin Borjas coming off of 2 losses. We had Ronaldo Rodriguez winning this fight, but it was a tough one, man, especially on the feet. Ronaldo Rodriguez was just leaving himself open probably a little bit too much during the fight. Kevin had he seized the opportunities there. I remember Daniel Cormier telling Rodriguez that he needs to raise that left hand, and Kevin's right hand was just there. He was quick, he was fast, and it felt like Ronaldo was just throwing a lot of spinning attacks, maybe more than he probably should have. But I'm no fighter or anything, but there was a lot of spinning attacks from Rodriguez that did not land. Seemed like he was really going for a highlight finish, and 3 rounds is tough. You lose the first round, you have an uphill battle, and it's really hard to kind of gather some momentum in 3 rounds. But Kevin Borjas, solid opponent from Peru. He made it pretty one-sided when it came to the fight on the card. So they gave the first round to Borjas, third round to Borjas as well. Only one judge scored Rodriguez winning a round, and that wasn't enough to secure the win. So pretty dominant performance by Kevin Borjas. We'll see what's next for Ronaldo Rodriguez. I'm sure he'll bounce back, use this as a lesson, and kind of make some changes when it comes to his style. A lot of people are saying he got fraud checked. I mean, a loss is tough, but I don't think it's anything that anybody can't come back from, Plenty of fighters have done it. Just, seeing it as a lesson. He's very young. I believe he's only 25 years old. I'm sure he'll bounce back, and I'm excited to see what the UFC has in store for Ronaldo. Next fight up, David Martinez versus Simon Oliveira. This one, performance of the night. This ended in the very first round. Heavy favorite, bro. If you see, he's Simon Oliveira is a plus 500 to win. David Martinez is a scary dude, man. We looked at some of the highlights. Freaking savage to say the least. Definitely has knockout power, explosive, and it's kind of what we expected. David Martinez with a knockout in the very first round. Very, very strong prospect in the bantamweight division. Bantamweight. I always get that confused. Bantamweight division. So we had Martinez winning this as well, and he did. He won by knockout. Now, Raul Rosas Jr., Mr. Chihuihuis, going against Vince Morales. Now, this fight went to decision. Rosas was the heavy favorite. Didn't seem like he was too excited about his performance after the fight. He talked about, like, hey, man, it's a little tougher than I anticipated. Morales gave him a fight. It was a little bit of a scary scary time in the fight where he had like this dart set up towards the end of the round, and Rosas puts up a thumbs up like Kevin Holland, and he was able to secure the win. If we look at the judges' scorecards for Martinez or for Rosas and Morales, they give Rosas the first round and the second round, and then Martinez the third one. So it was a close fight, went to decision. We would like to definitely see a finish inside the 3 rounds, but I mean, at the end of the day, Rosas is only 20 years old and getting his 5th win in the UFC. So he's still up and comer. We'll see what's in store for Rosas. I would love to see Rosas versus probably like Talbot. Both of them are really trying to make a name for themselves, and they're super young. So maybe that could be a potential matchup. Who knows? But Rosas with another win. And going up the card, which ended a winning performance of the night, Edgar Chairez versus CJ Vergara. Now, CJ was coming off of 2 losses. We weren't sure if the UFC was going to cut him if he lost again. Edgar is really trying to prove himself after that Joshua Van loss. Edgar ends up knocking down CJ, I believe, with a right hand. He ends up knocking down CJ, cinching up a rear naked choke. And he was super respectful after the fight. He's really just trying to provide for his family. He's grateful for our opportunity, which was inspiring to see. Now, if you guys looked into Edgar's story, his friends actually invited him to a UFC event, and he was like, yo, I really want to do this. He started training, made to the UFC, and now he's knocking fools out in the or choking dudes out in the very first round in Mexico. So super inspiring to say the least. A great win for Edgar Chairez. I was not expecting this fight to end as soon as it did. To be honest, I thought this one was going to be a back and forth battle. But Torres ended up just freaking dominating, ended up freaking knocking down Dober and hitting him on the side of the head probably around 30 times before the ref pulled him off. Also, one performance of the night. So good win, solid win against Drew Dober. Tough opponent, ended up getting the win first round. As good as it gets. Also the favorite to win. Going to the main event, Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg. I felt like Steve Erceg put up a great fight. There wasn't like moments where you're like, dude, Erceg is going to get put away here. He was pretty much there the whole time. I feel like Brandon Moreno did a great job countering Erceg's attacks. As soon as Brandon got clipped a few times, Brandon had his own combination loaded. There wasn't a lot of grappling. Unfortunately, I would like to see some jiu-jitsu being displayed just because both of them are black belts, and I would like to see kind of the exchanges that would happen between the two. But Brandon Moreno, he's really trying to chase after that belt. I'm not sure if the UFC is going to hit him with another contender before they give him Pantoja once again. But who knows, man? They might give Brandon Asakura or Royval, because Royval does have a win over Moreno. So the UFC might give him one more fight before the title, which I wouldn't be too upset at. I'm sure Brandon just wants to go straight to the title. He's 31 years old. There's still some time left on the clock before he has that matchup against Pantoja yet again. But I'm here for it, man. We had Brandon win this fight, and it was a pretty dominant win, man. Pretty dominant win. I definitely am a fan of Steve Erceg's style as well. So the next fight I see Steve Erceg, I'm gonna have him as a good fight, a good pick to have. That concludes today's video. That was our reaction to the fights. Shout out to Steve Erceg, bro. Put up a hell of a fight, especially short notice too. I believe he was supposed to fight Cap, or I forget, Cape or Cap. I don't know how you're supposed to say his name, but he coming up on short notice, having a fight like that definitely sits well with the people watching, the viewers and stuff. But hopefully Erceg could bounce back in his next fight, and we'll see him down the line in the future. So looking forward to these fighters once again. Would like to see a good matchup for Rosas in the future. I think Vince Morales has lost he's lost 5 in a row, which is pretty crazy to say. And it was a close fight too, but it just didn't end up going his way. So that was our picks, and stay tuned for next week's pick. I believe we'll have another event coming up. Emmett versus Murphy. So this is going to be a good one. We'll do our picks for this fight card as well, and we'll check it out. So stay tuned. Appreciate all of you guys. I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's episode. We out. Peace.